So after the first nap then happened, I then need to work out. After basically my first meal, which happens after the first nap of the day, which happens after my first mental work period, which is without food after waking, because that's when my mind is in the best state, and my mind also is not already drawn down by the need for digestion. Just thinking about the blood that is then distributed differently if digestion is already ongoing. So basically, the fasted state is the optimal state, because it's a state in which the body is regenerated, and also does not yet need nutrients. That's also why fasting is kind of so attractive. But of course, it's a model that doesn't work in the long term. Fasting is basically cheating. It's cheating, but it's relying on it's cheating. It's using what is already there instead of making more, i.e. maintaining the body. Fasting is depleting the body of nutrients, of energy, maybe also of fat. But of course, it's not something one can do in the long term. Fasting also has a major disadvantage, which is that cardio is positively impacted by getting a sufficient carb intake. One could say the ketogenic diet, in theory, would solve all of these problems that are attributed to the non-fasting state. But of course, this only goes so far. In the short term, fasting and also the ketogenic diet is a ridiculous hack. But as soon as one begins to realize that one cannot maintain the same cardiovascular intensity in workouts, then one of course is beginning to pay the price. In simple terms, it's a long-term reduction of cardiovascular capacity. The cardiovascular system needs to be trained, ideally with carbs. So maybe the ridiculous quest of my life is to find a carb source that allows me to maximize my cardiovascular intensity while not causing too much metabolic stress. So I then work out cardiovascularly. This is the common pattern that has made itself clear over hundreds, thousands of workouts over the last couple of years. The first postprandial or tradian slot is where cardiovascular workouts can happen the best. And of course, I need this slot because my, at least as currently on Garmin when I do a run, approximated running VO2 max of 57 is apparently nowhere near its genetic limit. What also I think has to be mentioned is that timing the cortisol release for ideally this slot here, after a couple of days only, at least in my case, also bears a tremendous risk, which is that if one is not able to work out in this slot here, then one almost goes insane. My heart rate is, if I do absolutely nothing, often increasing to 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 90. In other words, my body is ramping up. But if I now am not able to cardiovascular work, then this is causing significant damage. If I now, especially if I have myself conditioned for this cortisol release, don't work out, don't sufficiently work out, I'm awake for a very long